Okay, so I did a poll about whether people wanted to focus on the cup run, whether they wanted a cup run, whether they wanted to focus on the Premier League, or whether they wanted both. And the overwhelming majority of people said they wanted both. They wanted to have a good cup run and they wanted to be concentrating on the Premier League. So, listening to Roy before the game, I felt that he was saying the same thing. I thought that he was going to say, we're putting out our strongest team. We're going to fight for the FA Cup. It's a good distraction for us and things like this. And to be fair, he did put out probably the strongest team he could. I mean, the team was very similar to the other teams that he's put out previously of recent games. However, obviously AU isn't there and Elise isn't there. So in turn, he's put Schlupp and França. So França got his first start in the Premier League for Crystal Palace, which was fantastic. It was great to see him get his first chance starting a game. So obviously, we know that Everton are a good team in terms of battling. They love to battle. They love to, work hard and things like this. I knew it was going to be a tough game, especially when I saw that, there was a few changes. I mean, Pickford, for example, wasn't in goal. So I thought we've got a chance if we can play our game, if we can take some good chances, we might get a good chance. If Pickford's not in goal, we might get an opportunity. So that was my thoughts on the game. But I knew it would be a hard game for us. I knew that Everton were not just going to lie down; they were going to make it difficult for us, and they did. And however, I wasn't particularly expecting the situation the way it was. It was quite a dull game in terms of how it played out. It was one of our typical Premier League performances. We tried to make things work, but eventually we just started sitting back and trying to get them on the counter. Very predictable in terms of set pieces, and with our set pieces, for example, I've noticed this especially with corners as well now. But with our set pieces, we tend to go for the back post because that's where Anderson is, hoping that he's going to get his head on it. But he very rarely gets his head on it, and when he does, he doesn't always manage to hit the target. So I'm thinking maybe we should change that up a bit now with our free kicks and our set pieces in general. I think we should try and mix them about a bit, try something a little bit different. For example, one of the free kicks, which was right outside the penalty area, Eze tried to bend it up and over, but he just hit it too hard and it went straight over the top. França, I think it was França, I can't remember who it now exactly was. I think it was França, was on the end of the wall. So he could have, passed. He could have kicked it to him, and then he could have had a shot in goal. That's just my personal view. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I just think that the set pieces and things like that just aren't working for us. We're too predictable, so we need to try and mix it up a little bit. But anyway, all eyes, of course, were on França because it was his first start in the Premier League, and I have to say he made some good runs. He made one particular good run into the box and got fouled and got a free kick out of that. There was another one that he managed to get past a few players and then got crowded out. So I think he's got promise there. He certainly has got promise. He was when he had the ball, he certainly knew what to do with it and wanted to try and go at players and run at them, which is exactly what you really want to do, because that puts Everton under more pressure. It made them worry a little bit about him, and you could see that when he got the ball, they were doing their best to get the ball off him. So I think that they were a little bit uncertain as to what he was going to be doing with it, and they didn't want him to have the ball, which is fair enough. However, a lot of people have said that França should be starting every game, or at least starting games at the Premier League, and having only seen him in bursts throughout the season, I kind of agreed with that. I think we should have given him a chance, and now we did give him a chance in a cup game against a Premier League team. My personal thought is he's not quite ready. He was out there on the right hand side, and for the first half they didn't really pass to him very much, and I was a bit surprised by that. They didn't give the ball to him hardly at all, and he was out there on the right hand side. And yes, he was tracking back when his person he was near him had the ball. He was tracking back. He was trying to stop the play going through, but they weren't passing the ball to him very much at all, which I thought was a bit frustrating. I thought that, why are you not passing it to him? If he's he's a talented player, give it to him. Let him, if that had been Elise always used to get the ball when he's out on that right hand side. They always give him the ball. So that was a little bit of a bugbear for me. But the times that he did get the ball, he actually tried to do something with it. He tried to get down the byline, tried to get crosses in when he had the opportunity. So he was doing his best. But I found that he was kind of just sitting out there on the right hand side, and I really would have wanted him to try and come in and find the ball a bit more, come in and present for the ball a bit more, to to try and get them to give him the ball, and then he would do something with it. That's what I was kind of hoping that he would do. And physically, I think he was a little bit shell shocked by the physical side of the game, and also the speed of the game. How much time you have on the ball. You have very little time on the ball in the Premier League, and I think that caught him out a couple of times. And he was barged off the ball a couple of times as well. So I think physically he probably needs to bulk up a little bit more. But I think there is certainly promise there. I don't think he should be a regular starter for the team. I think, yeah, bringing him on at certain points, particularly if we want to mix things up a bit, yeah, that's a good idea. But I don't think we should be putting him in for full games or stuff like that, because I just don't think he's ready for that yet. I think he still needs time to learn the game and to develop his his passing skills around that kind of speed, because it is a very much one touch pass type of league. You have to pass really quickly to get past opposition. That's past a lot of past in there. I do apologise. So that was my impression of França, but I think he was really good. I just think that he perhaps needs a little bit more time. But let me know what you think about that, of course. And so he was having an okay game, as was everybody else. Nobody really stood out. I mean, France's couple of runs was good in the first half. Eze had I think he had one opportunity or something like that in the first half. That was pretty much it. There wasn't much else going on. It was a very bland performance apart from that from both teams. Everton had majority of the ball in the first half, and also I would say in the second half. Second half, when it came out, they did seem to be passing the ball more to him. Whether Roy or Ray had a word with him about it, but they did seem to be passing the ball to him more. And there was a couple of times when he linked up quite well with Eze, in a similar way to who he does with Elise. So that was promising. But again, he was a little bit out of his depth, I think. And around 70 minutes, Roy Hodgson substituted him. And then you had Ozo and Hamada came on as well. And you could see there was a difference. When those two came on, they were playing like they'd been in the team for a long time. They were running around. They were trying to chase the ball down. They were presenting for the ball. And I know they're in a different position. They're not out on that side. I know that their role is different. But they were. It was completely different way of looking at them. They were really good. And I think Ahmad in particular made a couple of good runs and was trying to get things started for us. David Ozo was his usual self, breaking up play in the middle, working hard in the middle as he always does. So those two performances I was really pleased with, and I think those two are certainly two that should be starting on a regular basis, because I think that they're young, they're hungry, and they want to win, and that certainly might give us a little bit more spontaneity, a little bit more fresh legs on the pitch, something like that. If you brought them on around 60 minutes, give them a fresh pair of legs, it might give us a fresh impetus at the end of a game or something like that. So they were very good indeed. Will Hughes came on as well, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. He does give away too many fouls. He's a good player and he likes to break up the play and he chases down and works hard, but he just gives away too many fouls, which is a problem I think for me, because you don't want to be giving away fouls anywhere, let alone in difficult areas of the pitch. But he's prone to a yellow card because he gives away so many fouls. So, he's a good player, but I just think he needs to tone down his tackling a little bit, just to make it a little bit better for everybody concerned. There was a controversial moment when Calvin Lewis was sent off for a tackle on Nathaniel Klein. Now, it's been around the internet, I'm sure you've seen it already, and it was one of those where he came in to the tackle, his foot was off the ground, his studs were showing, and he clipped the leg of Nathaniel Klein. Now, it wasn't a bad tackle in terms of contact, he clipped him, but surely that's not the point. You don't have to break someone's leg in order to get a red card. Surely the intention is the biggest problem there. So I think personally it should have been a red card. The referee, I don't think, was going to give anything at first, and then VAR pulled it back and told him to look at the screen, and that's when he gave the red card. So I don't think he was actually going to punish him at all. And I do think it was a red card because his studs were up and his foot was off the ground. I've said it before in other games that aren't Palace related. If if the studs are off the ground and they're facing the player, surely that's dangerous play, and it should warrant a red card. But anyway, again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, whether you believed it was a red card or not. And that was the biggest controversy. And then on top of all of that, one of their players went off with quite a serious foot injury, I think, or an ankle injury. So obviously we wish him the best. Hopefully he gets better quickly. But he was off the field of play. So Everton were technically down to 9 men, and we still weren't really bombing forward trying to make something happen. We were still playing the usual way that we were playing. I don't think we even had a shot at goal during the time that we were down. They were down to 9 men. So that was a little bit disappointing that we didn't take the impetus of what it was and go for it. So that was a little bit disappointing as well. And overall, the game was just a little bit drab, which, you know, you come to expect it from Crystal Palace at the moment. They don't play with any real threat at the moment. You know, they try hard. I mean, Mateta had another very good game, trying to hold the ball up, trying to stop play, trying to, you know, give us a bit of time and things like that. But it's very, very difficult. Edouard came on and didn't really do a huge amount. Everton had a couple of chances to score. One in particular was near to Henderson's near post. He managed to stick his foot out to stop it going in. So I think on balance, really, they had the better of the game, Everton, that is. So it was disappointing. However, it's the FA Cup game. But because it's a draw, we've got to do it all again. So we're going to be going to Everton to try and beat them this time up there. So I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to do it. And to be honest with you, it was just another Premier League game to me. That's exactly how it felt. It didn't feel like an FA Cup game to me. It just felt like another Premier League game. Now, obviously, they're both Premier League teams, but maybe if it had been a different team, maybe if it had been a team outside of the Premier League, maybe we would have approached it somewhere different. I don't know, but that's just my thoughts on it as well. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section, and if you're listening to this podcast, then send me an email. palacetothecore@gmail.com, palacetothecore@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about the game and what you think about the whole situation regarding França. I think he is a good prospect, but I don't think he's a prospect for right now. I think he's a prospect for maybe a year or two down the line. Let me know what you think, and as always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.